I'm Tami McCarthy.
And I'm Becki Fleischer.
We're two soul sisters on the front lines of growth and transformation, getting real about it all.
You know, sometimes we're totally in our woo-woo groove, walking on light.
Yep. And other times, we lose our footing and end up tripping over those very same rays of sunshine. That's woo-woo in the real world. On this show, we're giving you an inside look at all the healing practices and mindfulness that we use and how we integrate them into our lives.
Yep, we're talking to interesting people who can help us along the way as we look at some of the woo and wild things that make us go,
We hope that you'll join us, living woo-woo in the real world. Hello, welcome to Woo Woo in the Real World. I'm Tami McCarthy.
I'm Becki Fleischer. Super excited to be back. I'm in my psychedelic looking music room here.
I know. It's like one of those moments where we're like, yeah, we're going to Zoom and we've got a great interview lined up. And then we both log in and we're like, oh, I love your wallpaper. Oh, you have wallpaper too.
Looks so amazing.
Of course, I'm here at Calo and you're in your groovy room. That's your office, right? Your home office.
This is my home office, yeah, where I make a lot of music. I write a lot of songs in this room, actually.
So awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about a different kind of good vibration besides music. We're talking about energy. And we actually have a guest today. And her name is Leslie Stevenson, and she's an energy healer. And I have known Leslie for, probably 3 years now. We met right before the pandemic. I actually have her as part of Calo Collective doing readings. So I created an angelic candle line, and you could pick your archangel candle and then also do a reading in the pandemic virtually with Leslie. So that's sort of how I came to know her through collaborating with her and working with her and having energy readings with her. I mean, she's amazing. And
you talked about her in our first episode, I think, just to remind our listeners.
That's right.
You talked about like this
Chicago.
Yeah. And it was a very serendipitous kind of like session with her because you weren't quite expecting to meet up with her, and it kind of all happened just spur of the moment. It was incredible.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even knowing each other for 3 years, that was the first time we met in person. It's like, woo, amazing.
Totally.
So she works with angels, spirit guides, people who have crossed over, whether they're, your loved ones or your ancestors. She calls in the elements in her sessions, obviously fire, water, air, and Mother Earth. And one of the things that I love about her is that she really kind of works as an energetic and spiritual coach, and can guide you along based on reading your energy and what's going on for you in the moment. So I'm so excited, to hear her talk about that. She's a Reiki master, clairvoyant. I think even though I've known her 3 years, and we'll talk more about it, I think she's been in this field for over 20 years.
Wow.
And her work is really, I know that it's, changed so many people, from even the friend that introduced us. She's just one of these people with, just an amazing set of spiritual gifts that she can call in at any moment in a session with you based on what's going on in your energy.
That's exciting. I can't wait to talk to her. I did one session with her with the candle. I bought the candle. I had my session with her, and she was extremely spot on. Like it's always kind of blows my mind when you have those sessions with people that don't know you and have no way of knowing you.
Correct.
And have no way of knowing things that they're saying to you about your own life, that it's not public information. So it's, there's no way for them to know.
It's wild for sure. And just real quick before we bring Leslie on, I don't know if you've been reading this, and I'm sure you probably have, because we're like tapped into kind of the same sources of information, and we, for some reason, are just so synced up, right? It's like I read something or I'll send it to you and you're just like, oh, I just read that, or I'm just feeling that, or I just wrote in my morning pages, right?
That often happens, which is really crazy.
I know. So one of the things, for 2023, a lot of the practitioners or teachers that I follow are talking about the energy of 2023 and this being a 7-year, right? And the year of the rabbit. And, hopefully Leslie can also share some of her insights about all of that. But, I've been thinking about intention a lot and how setting intentions really drive a lot of your energy, right? And what comes up and what you need to clear out of the way in order to manifest those intentions, right? And, somebody like Leslie is really instrumental if anybody is working on something like that, either shifting energy or you have a totally different intention for 2023 that you didn't have before, right? So for me, I'm going to be, closing out my physical space that I'm sitting in here now. And so I've been, sitting a lot with like what next and where, and a lot has been coming at me in terms of how to make that decision, but I'm working on this way of making new decisions, which is what feels aligned, what feels like my energy is going to be uplifted instead of drained, right? So somebody like Leslie is somebody that I would tap into for exactly that reason. To really have someone who can see and who can help, shape and shift my own energy to clear out all the crap that I want to clear out and bring in all the amazing stuff that I want to bring in. And that's kind of what this work is all about, and what the woo-woo aspect of it is, and like how we integrate it into our real world, right? So for me right now on January 12th, which by the way, is the 3rd year anniversary of meeting my dad.
Is it really? Oh, I just got goosebumps. That is such a fantastic story. We have to tell our listeners that story at some point. So stay tuned. That has to come, because that is a magical, just completely beautiful story. Oh, I love that.
3rd anniversary. So anyway, so I'm going to bring Leslie in. You good with that?
Great. I'm great.
Okay. Welcome, Leslie, to Woo Woo in the Real World. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
So, you're based in Chicago, so that's where we're doing this from, and we're dealing with a little Mercury and retrograde tech stuff right now. But Leslie's got her angels on her side. And the connection has been reestablished. So we're rolling with it. So we're just going to jump right in, Leslie, because, we talked a little bit before you came on about, how we came to know you and just the teeniest bit about your background. But, I'm curious for you to share the fact that you're an angel therapist, you're a Reiki master, you're a clairvoyant, or what, someone might describe as a seer, right? And you can read someone's energy. So let's talk a little bit about that and what each one of those things means. But before we dive into that, when did you realize that you actually had these gifts?
Oh, so, I was, like many seers, and you were born this way. So, so I'm Pennsylvania Dutch, and that's like Amish. So I come from that. And also my father is a visionary, and he was profoundly clairvoyant. So I had it from both mother and father. And I, would see angels at age of 2. And my grandmother gave me a whole collection of angels because she was like, she sees angels. And so that was supported. Now,
well, that's amazing, because Becki and I have met so many people, whether we've worked with them, in our own lives, or just, come across them, where, people think they're crazy, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then they're not supported, or they can't share it with their family. So that's amazing that you come from this lineage of seers.
Yeah. And I would say, a lot of the tarot is not very well accepted, which was a battle on my end, but
Uh-huh.
I still battle with it, but now, yes, that part of me has always been accepted. I come from a very religious mom who was very spiritual and grandmother, and God was always first
Mhm.
in my family. So,
Mhm.
but it changed and shifted as I grew and learned from all different kinds of teachers. And, I just have a thirst for knowledge
Mm.
and a thirst for service and a thirst to help people and guide them in unique and different creative ways. I have a thirst for art. So this all kind of combines my whole personality, which is a little unique.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
can help and guide people through so many different challenges in their life. And I love doing that.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
when did you realize that you could work with a person and actually see their energy in a way that was helpful to them?
Well, I was a dancer for a very long time. And that is a very silent world where you're just moving your body. And so I became a dance movement therapist, thinking that I could incorporate all of that through being a dance movement therapist. And funny enough, I went to this thing with Anastasia,
Mhm.
and she
You're the
took me.
one that introduced us, Anastasia.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
And she took me to Doreen Virtue.
Oh.
And it was one of her first like conferences to become the angel therapist. And it was like my whole world. It was like meeting like a soul, my soul,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and that ensued such an awakening in me. And that was like 99 or 2000
Mhm.
that, I got that with my Reiki, with my dance movement therapy, and I was bound and determined to do something unique. So I guess it was Anastasia that really helped with this awakening.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that was one of my questions for you, because it's interesting that, and I know that everyone who I've spoken to who is a seer in some form or fashion, they all say the same thing, which is, I was born this way. I mean, it's ever since I was a little kid. And it's great that you had people who could help normalize that for you and help you understand what it was, and to kind of guide you a little bit so it wasn't scary or confusing in any kind of way. And so I'm always curious with people who are born just with that. Is there a cultivation of it that also still has to happen? Or does it all just kind of come so naturally to you?
Oh, no, I have to cultivate it every single day,
Mm.
and have to be very careful with the food I eat. I meditate 2 to 3 hours a day. I listen to my guidance system. I've always done that, and it takes such a discipline. And you know, gosh, I get tested all the time with very dark forces coming at me. And how do I protect myself? Or
Mhm.
what is this trying to tell me? And what do I need to learn here? I've really had to shape that so I
Mm.
wouldn't take it so personally, because I am extremely sensitive. Um, it can hurt badly to the core,
Mhm.
like probably like nobody humanly would care, right?
Mhm.
And I can feel things like when I walk in a room or a crowd, I can feel it in my body, like that somebody
Mm.
is having heart problems or leg problems or their liver's off. So I've had to really learn how to protect myself and just be a person too out in
Mhm.
public, right? And so that boundary took a very long time to kind of, and I'm still trying to figure that out, but I've gotten much better.
Yeah, I bet, because you can't really turn it on and turn it off. I mean, it's just part of who you are. So I can
Right.
imagine that would just be completely overwhelming and overstimulating at times.
I mean, I talk about this, the managing of other people's energy for me. It's
Mm.
like so difficult. Um, and it's become so much easier, by the way. I
Mhm.
don't know. the more you practice and the more you make this a daily practice and a discipline, and the more you put your angels there and ground yourself, it gets much easier. But when I was younger, I had no clue. And I would also, then I would start processing things and think they were mine. And I had to really work on boundaries. And I still do to this day. Boundaries are key in this work.
I bet that's right.
Yeah, no, we've absolutely heard that. So in terms of how because you work in so many modalities is basically what I'm trying to get at. And I know, for example, I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and she's like, I just don't understand how, if you're not in the room with someone, how they can affect your energy or help your energy. How can a healer work with your frequency or your energy from a distance? And I made myself a little note and I said, you know what? Ask Leslie this question, right? So
yeah,
can
I
you
love
shed
that.
some light on that? Because, I've thought about that myself. I feel like I certainly have had virtual sessions with you and felt my energy shift, but I have no idea what's going on or how you do that or whatever. So, and it's not like, the magician who has to like tell his trick or anything, and it's not a trick, but if you could just talk about that a little bit, I think people have a lot of curiosity about that.
Yeah, that's such a great question. And so I really speak to your angels and your guidance team, and I do a lot of meditation, and I'll run like a healing before each and every session. And so I'll get messages or intuitive hits, or I'll see colors, or I'll, a guardian angel will come through, or someone who has passed away that is on your team will come through, and they'll start to speak to me. I have a very deep connection with the unknown, the unseen, that world within you. And I believe we all come with this spiritual team, because I've seen it time and time again. And that's where I go. And so that's how I work with the energy. And I can see Akashic records, and I work with Archangel Jeremiah, and can see like at your soul print, your soul essence, like what color it is and what it looks like. Because we're all just, purple, green, yellow. And I can see then also your chakra system. I see color. And I can see where it's dull, or this chakra is spinning the wrong way. It's in my third eye, I guess. But I have all the clairs. I've been told. So I get clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient. So I'm getting all these messages.
So just for the people listening or watching, when you say all the clairs, that's what that is, right? Clairvoyant, which is seeing. There's clairaudient, right? Which is hearing. What are the other ones?
Clairsentient, which is it's just like the unknown, it's just a knowing.
And you have
claircognizant, which is, I have a thought that comes to me, and I think we covered them all. But I guess so. Yeah, and it's probably because I've done this work and studied with so many teachers that different things have been in really I disciplined. I've worked like a ninja to get this way. It's not like and to get clear messages, because I have to be very careful what I say to people. But I also want to speak the truth so that they know, because I would want to know what to fix or what to do or what I need to look at. But you have to be very careful how you verbalize that and language it.
Yeah. Say more about that. Say more about the being careful about what you say to people. What does that look like for you?
Well, I don't always do a good job, by the way. I'm not saying, because I could see something really, not, I tried to put it in a language of love and kindness, and some way that they can hear it. so that they can see. And I also try to remove it or fix it or think about it with their guidance team of where the direction needs to go next, So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
how.
I mean, I was asking that because I think a lot of people that I talk to who they're scared, like they're scared to talk to someone like you because they're like, I don't know what
Right.
she's going to tell me. And what if she tells me something
Sure.
horrible about my health or horrible about, and my reply to them always is that's never been my experience. When you're dealing with a healer, they're not going to land you with horrible, doom and gloom news. They're going to land you with like, how do you,
Yeah.
what is presenting and how can you work with it in a more positive, like you said, in a love, you try to put it in a love kind of language.
Yeah.
So
And also like a space where you can go, aha, no wonder that I was having a stomach ache for 3 weeks. Here, I can identify why you have a stomach ache. And guess what? It might be removed and go away. It's like these
yeah,
aha kind of moments that you can't really see, but I can.
interesting. And just for our people who are watching the show right now, they just saw Tami slide off screen because she's at Kahlo and the store is open. And so we
Oh,
joke on this show, this is woo woo in the real world, and we let the
yeah,
real world be. Like,
I
it is what it
love
is.
it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I mean, and that's a great point too, that to be authentic and to be real and just to be completely honest. Some people are really afraid of honesty and
Yeah.
authenticity. This world, we've been branded and put on a unrealistic place where we're supposed to be. And, I
Yeah.
don't know. That's
Yeah.
another way that people kind of are afraid to kind of even be that authentic.
That's
So,
true. It's like you have to have such a polished and perfect thing that you're putting out to the world, so that it looks like you have it all together and everything's fine and
right.
look how great it is. But yeah, that's really a good emphasis of this show is we're really trying to be like, but then there's the real world, where you slip and fall and stumble. Like you've said, like you don't always deliver everything perfectly. It's an imperfect world. We're imperfect people.
Yeah.
But then just trying to find these modalities that help us. While Tami's off screen, I want to quickly go back because you mentioned something and I didn't know what it was. So I'm going to just ask you while she nodded her head like she knew. So maybe she knows, but you had mentioned you can read some kind of records, some sort of with an
Oh,
A, I think.
Akashic record.
Akashic records. So what are those?
So those are the records that we have that we come in as a soul print. So it's our past lives. It's everything. It's like our timeline, our lifetime, and in other past lives. So it's really great to go into the Akashic records if you have continual trauma and you don't know why, or you have triggers or something. I can go into that timeline and see where that trauma came from, whether it be like in this lifetime or in another, and how that's affecting you. And we can kind of work together to heal it and release it.
Wow.
Had like profound healing in Akashic records. It's wonderful. And like pretty much I kind of do that in every healing, but people don't know.
I was just going to ask, like, how do you decide? So when people come to work with you, are they coming for something very specific, or you just kind of coming at them and saying, I think we need to do this? Or like, do you bring a particular modality to the table on purpose, or does it just evolve as you start to work with someone?
Yeah, I'm really free flowing with that, but at Ruby Room, they do schedule like a love reading or an Akashic record reading. Like we have separate
I see.
things so that I can prepare Akashic record. If you really want to go in, I do have to prepare a lot longer beforehand in meditation, and it is a lot more complicated. So, I like to know about that one before.
Mm-hmm. And for that one, is there any participation by the, like if I came to you and said I wanted to do an Akashic record reading, it's not like I've read about like past life regression where people go back and somebody can regress them back to their past lives. Is that the same or is it different?
No. I'll just point it out, and I'll just be channeling Jeremiah and to say, oh, like you were a Roman and you had, a Colosseum fall down on you and you had this fear come about. And so that's why you have a random fear when you're in public places. That's really what Akashic records are really good for. Something,
Wow.
I'm being very superficial, but
Sure.
another thing is like a lot of it is being seen, and I'll see in their timeline that their parents, when they were young, did not interact with them at all. And so they were not seen. And so they grew up with this, kind of trigger or trauma that I'm never seen. I'm not validated. I'm not in the room. And it's really because that child was not seen.
Mm.
And so we can go back and heal that and have you hold your inner child and work with that inner child and tell that inner child that you see them. And it's
Yeah.
amazing what happens when you do that.
Without question. I mean, there's so much crossover, and I think it's going to be fascinating, even more as science kind of catches up with this. But there's so much crossover with modern psychology and a lot of the healing modalities and practices. Because I know I was on a retreat in September, and they focused a lot on the inner child and kind of going back to that space of the inner child. And there is something extremely healing when you can go back and find parts of yourself that are like hiding in a little corner of shame or hiding in a ball of pain or whatever it is. And then to just come to that, person that you are, but who's still there, like on this other kind of timeline, and heal that. It's really powerful. I mean, I've done it a few times this year where I've kind of gone back and just found, like, I had no idea, like 26-year-old me was sitting there with all this pain and shame. And I had to go back and say, like, no. Like, we're good. Like, you get to come along too, and so it's interesting, like this cross between modern psychology, which I think sometimes for people that feels like a more solid modality, if you will, for whatever reason, but there is so much integration with spirituality. And I think eventually you're not even going to be able to see the line between the two. Do you find that?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think this is actually, and I even talked to my teachers from my school, like this is more profound because you're dealing with the body, the mind, the soul, all of it, and not just focusing on the mental illness. You're going into the soul print, you're going into, the dynamics, you're going into the energy, you're clearing it on all the levels, right?
Yeah.
Or you're helping them to release it. I'm not saying that. I'm just a witness and a conduit, so I'm not going to disempower someone. They're healing themselves, but I'm allowing them or giving a voice to what needs to be looked at and moved and fixed and worked on.
Incredible. That's great. Oh, hello, Tami. We told our audience.
I got us a new listener because my customer that was in here that I was helping, she was like, that's so fascinating. What are you doing? Where can I hear this? And I said, in the real world.
Fantastic. Yeah, I was just telling Leslie, I was like, we just keep going because like this is the real world. This is what happens. Like it's
I know. It's so funny because Leslie, you haven't been here, but I have two doors, right? So one's on either side in front of me, and one door has a bell that says "Patience, please ring," because I don't know, many years ago, probably 30 plus years ago, this was a doctor's office. And so it's still on the door, but it's really funny because this woman's standing there and she's like ringing the doorbell. Please in. I'm like, okay.
That's hilarious.
So
I love that wallpaper, by the way. That's so pretty.
I can come wallpaper your apartment or your house or
love that.
So you can hear us, Tami. So you heard us
talking about what?
You heard us. I just want to make sure you heard where we were.
And I love that, especially the Akashic Records part of it, which is amazing, because this trauma thing, it just gets so suppressed in our physical bodies, right?
Mhm.
And one thing that I've learned is you could be dealing with trauma not even from this lifetime and not even know it.
Yes, that's a beautiful way to put it, and not even know it. Yeah. Yes.
Um, and well, people are like, well, why would I want to know it? That's freaky, right? But I'm like,
Right.
actually, if you want to deal with the problem, you're clearly experiencing something in this lifetime, whatever that thing is, that's an issue or a challenge or keeps coming up for you. So imagine if you found out exactly where that was coming from, and you were able to let it come up, and you were able to heal it and deal with it. And then you felt different afterwards, and you weren't dealing with that issue anymore. Wouldn't that be amazing? Right?
And wouldn't it be amazing to live in a world where we all just took accountability and responsibility and
Yeah.
really healed ourselves and healed our traumas and worked on ourselves and not been afraid of looking at ourselves. And I think that is part of old mind programming, really,
Mhm.
and old systems to keep us stuck and from evolving as humans and getting along. I think it would build so many communities and working together, and
Yeah.
there
It's
would be so much.
amazing that humans have evolved as much as they have, because
Yeah.
I'm just like, sometimes I'm just like, how did that happen? Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Yeah.
hoping that those forces are going to keep going, right? Because
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
we can, like you had said before earlier in the conversation, and like I totally get it, where you have to constantly deal with dark forces trying to come at you because you're a light worker. And that, for anybody with who is a dark force or a dark energy, and again, like, there's no space or time to what we're talking about, right?
No,
So
right.
that's the other thing that is
And I like to call it foreign energy. It's not my energy, so
right.
that I don't label it. It did come out dark, and it's just been a weird. But it can
Yeah.
be foreign. It's not your
Oh,
energy. It's
yeah.
someone else's stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see that very much as like, because I agree. I don't know if it's dark or if it's light or if it's right or if it's wrong. It's just, to me, when it feels heavy,
Mhm.
it feels like a wound. And so
Mhm.
I'm like,
It does.
that's someone's wounded energy coming right at me.
Oh,
And
I
it's
love that.
like, it's easier to see it that way, and also
Yeah.
to then have some compassion and empathy towards that person, because I'm sure there are times when I push out my wounded energy on someone too. And so it's just kind of having that, kind of compassionate lens of like, that's your wounded energy, and I can't, it, even if I took it on, there's nothing I can do with it. Like, I can't fix it for you. So it's like, there's no point of me kind of taking that energy on. It's
Yeah.
that's your energy to
Yeah.
heal, and I've got mine. I've got to heal mine. But more recently, that's how I've started looking at it, because it's hard. It's very hard to dig into your own stuff and kind of pull it out and start to
Mhm.
deal with it. And it's so heavy, and people don't want to do it. Like, I talked to a friend who was like, I just don't want to go backward. I don't want to know. I don't care. Just fake it till you make it. And I said to her, you can try to fake it till you make it, but you're never going to make it,
Right.
because it's never going away. So
Mhm.
you'll never make it. Something's always going to have you by the ankle, pulling you right back down,
I
So
always have a problem with that. Fake it till you make it.
yeah. Yeah. Tami, what we wanted to kind of cover was like the fear, right? That's
Mhm.
what led us to this whole conversation about like the fear that keeps people from taking a step when they maybe feel called to work with an energy healer.
Mhm.
Like, there is a lot of fear that comes with that, or trepidation, or um, just anxiety about it. And
Yeah.
so we were saying, like, where's that coming from, and how can we help kind of demystify the process so it's not
Mhm.
as scary to think about approaching. So I was asking Leslie,
Yeah.
um, when people work with you, like, what could they expect, just to help demystify the process? Like, what could they expect if they came to her?
I immediately sit down. I ask for permission to go into spaces because that's very important to me. This is a very sacred connection. So I have to make sure that I have permission both from their guidance team and from them. And then I'll always state rules, kind of rules that I have, and also the process, which is I'm talking to your guidance team. I'm going into your timeline. If anything feels uncomfortable, please let me know and I will back out of that space. I want this to be a dynamic experience and I want you to feel really good at the end, and not defeated or fearful or afraid. I want you to feel empowered, and so I think because I'm not just spewing out things and channeling, it's a dynamic. I check in. It's not like I'm going, oh, in 10 months, you're going to be married with a baby on the way. It's more like what's blocking you from getting married and that energy that's stopping you and the action steps you need to take. And I think we also have like old psychic programming where people were like doing these weird things of predicting, but that it's not like that at all. It's more, I don't predict. I'm not a predictor. I believe in free will, and I also see it in timelines that there is no set in stone. We have, times where we're meant to meet things, and if we meet them, we meet them. If we don't, we don't. We'll do it in the next life. So I think explaining that to people makes them feel a little more comfortable. And so so they're not so afraid. But yes, this fear comes up a lot. So I try to really say, I'm not gonna tell you something, and I'm not a phony. And I really try to really make that clear. Like, I am really seeing this. This is real to me. If it doesn't resonate with you, please tell me,
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of times though, you could see something that a person may or may not be aware of in that moment at that specific time, but maybe 2 weeks down the line.
Right. We can talk about like your birthday.
Right.
You remember for your birthday, and I saw all this music pouring in. I saw musical notes.
Oh my God. Right. It was right before that.
Right before your birthday. And I was so excited. I'm like, somebody's giving you a gift. And I didn't even mean to tell you. And you're like, what are you talking about? I don't know
musician and music. There's so much music. And so for people listening, I saw Leslie the last week of August in Chicago, and my birthday was September 1st, right? And I had really no plans for my birthday. I wasn't even thinking about my birthday when I saw you. Sure. And then my husband, Dan, organized a dinner out for us and said, oh, Becki and Peter, 426, are playing at this restaurant. And he actually didn't tell me that part, but I figured that part out when we started driving. I was like, wait a minute. It's a Thursday night. They play a Peter Pratt. Are we going to go hear Peter and Becki? And I thought that was the surprise. Like, yay, honey. It's such a great surprise. We're going to go hear our friends on my birthday. And we're at this dinner and we're outside, and Becki and Peter are lovely and they're singing. And she always plays my favorite song, Angel from Montgomery. I'm just like, this is so nice. And then I come back from the bathroom and the energy is very weird. And they debut this custom song written just for me that my husband wrote with Peter and Becki, and they performed it at this birthday dinner. And there wasn't a dry eye in that place. I was a total wet noodle, as I like to say. And it was the most beautiful experience. No one has ever done that. And my dad played the harmonica on it. It was like out of control, beautiful. And that's what you were seeing a week before. And I'm just telling you, oh yeah, I know lots of musicians. I go hear music. That's just what I do.
I think even
special about that.
I was like handling it and I was crying myself. Like I was moved here, but seeing in the ethers, and it was
Mhm.
so profound, and that came forward to be channeled.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that whole experience was incredible. Like when Dan reached out to us and asked us, he sent us some information to like kind of structure up the song, and rarely songs come tumbling out quickly. And that one came tumbling out really quickly. And I mean really quickly. It was just kind of and I felt bad because like normally Peter and I would sit down and we would workshop things together. And when he got there the next day, I was like, I am really sorry, but this song just like it just arrived. And he was like, no, nothing to be sorry about. I mean, we workshopped it some more, but it's actually a version of that song is going on our upcoming album. So I can't wait.
oh, so special. I mean, you channeled it from the angels and from the other dimensions. I could see that, and it was it's just very healing and just honoring and sacred. It's beautiful.
Oh my gosh, I have chills. That's amazing.
Yeah. That was such
But
an
that's
amazing
a good
experience.
example of like session, then real world, then what unfolded from that.
Yeah, and you were just open. You were just open. And that I encourage, I'll also come with questions, but an openness to the messages, because you might be surprised 2 weeks later when that actually it's coming to fruition.
Amazing. So, I mean, not to put you on the spot or anything, but I also remember like when you and we had that text exchange and I'm like, let's get on the podcast and let's talk about this stuff. Which it's just mind blowing. Like, I feel like I could just sit here and talk to you like the entire day.
Me too.
And I'd be like, wait, I gotta go pick somebody up or I have to make dinner. I don't want to. But yeah, so you talked about maybe reading our energy. Is that something? Is that something you want to do or can do?
Yeah.
Or
Wanted me to do that right now?
It's up to you. Yeah.
So I'll do like a short read for you.
Yeah.
Because your picture's right here right now, and then I'll do a short read. So I'm just asking permission to your guidance team. And this is a dynamic experience. And if anything feels uncomfortable, please let me know. And I'm seeing a lot of blue energy in your field, which is unique for you because I don't usually see this like color. It's like lavender blue. It's very soothing. It's almost purple too. There's some colors of purple. It's very soothing. It's very warm. It's almost like you're bringing in a new energy is what I'm hearing from your guardian. And this warmth and this coziness might even be like a space or a place where people are communing and gathering. And it's got this beautiful warm energy to it. I see a fire too. So I see a lot of fire in your energy field, which is usually different. I usually see a lot of earth energy. I see a lot of fire energy in your field. You're really manifesting right now. You're really, and you, Tami, I'm just looking right now.
Okay.
So there's like it's like a lot of like, I'm going to pull in this and that. You've got a lot of great ideas. Your guide is telling me that they want you to really focus on like 1 or 2 or 3, and that's it. You need to really like kind of edit whatever, because there's a lot you can do right now. I see like 7 different paths, and they want you to just focus on 1 or 2.
That's great. Can they just tell me which 1 or 2?
I'm hearing community.
What?
I'm hearing something with community, something with like body and physical. And I'm also hearing, theater. I'm hearing theater for you. Maybe you're bringing in some more theater, or more acting or a class or something, but there's something there. That's your guardian is saying, do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Oh,
Theater is coming to a town near you.
yeah. All right. So with song, I'm feeling so much song and like musical notes. They're surrounding you like, like almost like they're showing hills and valleys. Your guides are with the music. It's almost like the sound of music. And I don't even mean to say that, but she's like on the hill and she's spinning around and they're flashing me a picture of that. I don't know if you're going to be taking a lot of like trips this year too, but your guide is talking about some travel or upcoming travel that's going to be really inspirational. And I'm feeling a lot of warmth there, so a lot of sunshine, and you need some more vitamin D, your guide is saying. Sorry. And some more fun.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of working too hard and a need to just let it flow.
Okay.
Oh, I was going back and forth. So that's not for Tamara.
Oh, that was for me.
That was for you.
That
Damn
checks
it.
out.
That was for you.
That definitely checks out.
Yeah, and there's like a grounding or a home or something changing in home too. Maybe you're changing your bedroom or something. You're to change your bedroom around. Your guide is talking about shuffling it around, putting new stuff on the bedside table, putting colors up there. Because there's old energy that needs to leave. And new energy won't come in until this old energy goes. And there's new energy that wants to come in and it's excited to come in, but that old energy is kind of blocking it, right? But I just see you sweeping it away. Archangel Jophiel is a great angel to bring in to sweep away old energy. So bring Jophiel, and she beautifies spaces. So you can ask her to beautify your space. Yeah, so that's kind of me.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
Thanks.
okay. Feeling that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know, just very moving and
Really moving.
helpful.
Super helpful. We will probably, I could probably activate again on my website the link to you, Leslie, if people are curious and want to go deeper. Of course, always message Becki and I, but they could also book a reading with you virtually.
Yeah.
Right. Why don't you do like that through Callo, by the way?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And we'll also put the link in our show notes. So when people are looking on the podcast, we can put a link to your work in the show notes so they can get to you.
Yeah, I would like be a part of your collective, and we can share and, you can take some, I just think let's keep it with Callo,
Yeah.
And they can keep it virtual with me.
That sounds great. Yeah. I mean,
beautiful.
It's really powerful. Just that little snippet that we shared in terms of what you can do. So imagine a full session. It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I am so grateful to be on here anytime. I love talking about this. I love educating and being a part of community.
To New York.
Yeah, I'm coming. And I'm so grateful for you're just such an amazing mentor and healer and teacher. And I'm just in awe of you. I'm so grateful. Yeah.
You're amazing.
You're amazing.
If in Chicago listening, go see Leslie at the Ruby Room.
Yeah. Thank you.
So much fun.